Concorda. I welcome this gambling regulations bill. It's been a long time in drafting. I want to commend Minister James Brown for his work on the bill and his officials, and indeed I want to give credit to his predecessor, David Stanton, for his work. This sector has seen many dramatic changes since the Betting Act of 1931 and the Gaming and Lotteries Act of 1956. It has seen so many changes since those pieces of legislation were enacted. Most people would consider that the most dramatic change in gambling has been the introduction of online betting and gambling with the use of the mobile phone. Nearly all the betting and gambling carried out in those earlier times were cash transactions, with some very few people having an account or able to conduct business over the phone. Times have changed, and there is very much a need for this legislation to bring our gambling legislation into the 21st century. Gambling, as we know it, can take many forms, such as the traditional bet on a dog or a greyhound. There's a whole range of sports betting, golf, tennis, you name it. There's betting on elections, on politics. But those normally have a human or performance fee. And then we have another world involving cards, lucky numbers, or machine-generated numbers or symbols. The main provision in this bill is to set up a gambling regulatory authority which will provide a proper and effective licensing system to provide a safe regulation of gambling activities within Ireland, introducing safeguards to address problem gambling. And the main concerns addressed in the bill is for those who are prepared to lose more than they have, often through addiction or economic pressure, by ensuring that gambling is conducted in a fair and open way, by requiring safeguards to address problem gambling and restricting gambling advertising. Other concerns addressed include preventing children being induced through advertising and promotion and other methods in the gambling world. While gambling activity is enjoyed safely and responsibly by the vast majority of people in Ireland, we are all aware of the ill effects of problem gambling for individuals, their families, and for society as a whole. This is why I believe that the creation of a social impact fund by this bill is really good for society. I understand that this fund will finance research and information to support public education and awareness-raising measures related to problem gambling and to support problem treatment activities by suitably qualified health professionals. Another concern that I hope is addressed in this bill is to prevent gambling from being a source or support to crime and money laundering. I know that the Justice Committee of the Houses of the Oireachtas held extensive meetings as part of the pre-leg scrutiny of this bill with many of the stakeholders and interest groups before issuing a comprehensive report which included 16 major recommendations to be included in this bill. I would like to know if all these recommendations have been included to examine the feasibility of the pre-leg scrutiny process. These recommendations included the possibility of blocking gambling operators who are not licensed in the state, further restrictions on gambling advertising, the possible prohibition of gambling with credit cards and/or gaming with credit cards, more advanced verification checks of a customer's age, that the citing of multiple gambling outlets in predominantly disadvantaged communities would be discouraged, that gambling operators would be liable to dependents and creditors of gamblers where they know or ought to know that they were making losses beyond their means. And also there was an issue there as well in relation to decoupling sports and gambling advertising. And I think that's a tricky area, Minister, particularly if you look at the whole area of, say, horse racing. And just at the weekend we had a really good horse racing meeting in Ferry House with 3 Grade 1s, and the main sponsor there was a betting company. And I don't know how you're going to break that link between, say, they supporting that particular race card and, it's on television on RTE1. how you're going to do that. So I just encourage you, Minister, to look at that in a practical way. And I also want to thank the Justice Committee for their consideration and their considered work on this bill. I understand that this new regulatory authority will be ready to start next year once this bill has been passed. Minister, I want to commend this bill to the House and thank you for your dedicated work in bringing this bill before the House.